There you go. Well, that's the work that I did the other day. Let me now show you the view. There we go. Something like that. Something like that. Except a little while ago, the sun was on this side of those buildings, and that's the image I've captured. I do have a photograph on my phone. I started this painting a little over a week ago, and last week, expected to come back last week, but it rained all week long. So it's nice to be back here on a beautiful, sunshiny, mild, late spring day, June 2nd. And feel free to leave chats while we're here. Let me see, if I do that, I'm going to have a way to see your chat. So give me just a minute while I pull up my channel. I was out here last week, as I said, a week before last. I went home and I counted up when I am painting here. I have 20 electronic devices that need to be charged up. Isn't that crazy? 20! Anyway, why am I doing this to myself? Well, because I like it. And now I can't get one of my iPads to tell you what, let me look on my another electronic device. Forgive all this hassle. I expect to iron out all these snags, but they're not ironed out yet. Not allowing me to see what's going on. And it turns out I'm not using these headphones, so I'll turn those off. Save that battery. And let's get to work on the painting, shall we? Oh, and my camera has moved, so bear with me just a minute while I move us back slightly. All right. So, interesting day. I don't paint in this season as much as I used to. And of course that makes me worried that maybe my progress as a painter is slowing down. Anyone would worry about that. And I don't think, well, I don't know, mathematically, I think it's got to be slowing down. It just can't be. If you're doing 4 paintings a week versus 1 painting every 4 weeks. It's not quite that slow, but you get the idea. The progress. But anyway, I'm still making progress, maybe perhaps not as quickly as I used to. The reason I'm bringing that up is I'm going to try something new today. That's why this is a significant day. I'm going to try adding a layer. Normally, at this point, I would be ready to launch into what I call the final edit layer, which is mostly opaque oils, and cover up everything that I don't like. And not that I don't like in a grumpy or angry or, oh, I did a bad job. No. I mean, I put a lot of things on the canvas with the anticipation that they will be covered up. But not all of them. Like, okay, let's say for instance, one of these funny, let me zoom in here real quick just for a second. How much can I zoom in? Okay, let's take this aqua turquoise shaft of color right there. There's that color appears in several places. I put that down knowing that I was going to cover most of it up, and that word most is extremely important. I put it there knowing that most of it would get covered up, but not all of it, and that's the key, that I'm going to cover up to taste, like a chef spices the stew according to taste. That's the only way you can paint, is by vision, by what you see. That's how you don't paint by rules, you paint by vision. Rules are good to know, but the final arbiter, the final judge, is how does it look. So normally I'd be, if this is all dry, by the way, and normally, as I said, I'd be launching into final edit. But precisely because this is all dry, so this is not an alla prima painting by any means. I started it 9 days ago, I think it was. A few of you may have seen that. And hang on, I'm going back to see. For some reason, this channel is not coming up. I don't know why. As the painting stands, as it exists right now, to my taste, there are too many hard edges. There's a little bit too much definition going on everywhere. Now, with the final edit layer, which is mostly opaque daubs of opaque oil paint, some of that gets diminished, but not a lot, because I tend to paint fairly opaque in the final opaque layer, which means definition tends to increase. And if it does that, I think there might be too much definition. I'm launching into a way that I don't normally paint here. Those of you who are familiar with my work, my painting process, will be very familiar with what I'm going to say next. So I'm essentially I'm experimenting. And by the way, that is how an artist progresses. That's how an artist advances and gets better, is by experimenting, by trying new things. In fact, the experimentation, sorry, loud noise comes by. The joys of downtown, you gotta love it, gotta love it. The range of experimentation for an artist is like a donut. If you don't have enough experimentation in your painting, then you've missed the ideal target. You're in the hole of the donut. If you have way too much experimentation, you've also missed the donut. You're way out here. You're wild and crazy. That is the territory of the adolescent painter. Definitely the adolescent age, like the college age art major, and I was guilty of the same exact thing. The young adolescent painter, and that's probably all right. There's some appropriateness to being a little too wild and crazy when you're young, and then learning to tone it down as you mature. But anyway, on the other hand, a mature painter, I'll say it like myself, is more likely to, I think, you're just getting my opinion here, of course. I think the mature painter, so this would apply to some of you, is more likely to miss the donut by hitting the hole. That is, not enough experimentation. And if you don't experiment, you can't progress. Since I'm on the subject, let me expand a little bit and talk about how I think most painters or wannabe painters, what is their progress journey? What is it marked by? Okay, by the way, so far this is looking marvelous. Marvelous, my dear. Let me zoom in, see if I can do this real quick. I'm going to zoom in again. Ooh, there we go. All right, so there you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Once again, those of you who are familiar with my painting technique, this is in fact nothing more than a second fuzz layer. All right, those of you who are not familiar, that's all right. Hang around, you'll figure it out eventually. I think you can probably see. And actually already I'm going, yeah, this was a good idea. Sorry. Whew. Nothing like hacking right in your ear, eh? See, normally at this point I would be applying probably this very same exact color, but I would be applying opaque daubs, D-A-U-B-S. Are you familiar with that? Daubs of color instead of what I'm doing, which is smooshy, soft edge, foggy daubs of color. Big difference. Now I am going to come back and do opaque or more opaque color on top of this. So this now is not the final edit layer. This is a new layer that I'm experimenting with, and I hope that I'm hitting the donut. Now, let me answer a question some of you may have. Why would I need to do anything else on top of this? Am I still in the camera? Yeah, barely. I'm getting kind of close to the top, aren't I? Why do I feel, and I do, why do I feel I need to do anything else? Easy question. I'm going to try to answer it in as succinct a manner as I can, which those of you who know me know that succinct is not my native language. I'll come back to that later, but let's often it's a good idea not to work on any one thing for too long. Don't work on it till you get stale. Move around. So I'm mixing up now a warm yellow orange on my brushes. The face of this building right here, the face of this store is nice, is a very nice stained wood, and the sun was hitting some of it earlier today and last week when I was here earlier in that day, and really making a beautiful color. It's a really pretty wood and a lot of it, and so that's what I'm doing now. So the fuzz layer, as you can see by, let me back out again so that I don't lose you here in a minute. The fuzz layer is very soft edges. All right, now I was going to answer the question, why would I need to do any more on this? In some ways, what I've done here and here, it looks quite nice, and it does. I'm very glad that it does. But no, it's not going to stay that way. And the reason is very simple. Now, I wish I had a whiteboard or a diagram right here, because I would like to give you a lesson on painting. I love giving lessons on painting. That's a big part of the reason why I do what I do, because I love talking about what I'm thinking while I'm painting. And evidently, some people like to hear that same thing, because some of you come back over and over for Dan Nelson's freebie lessons. All right, here's the diagram. 3 things in a painting make it beautiful. Now I'm already what's the word? I'm already in trouble with the art establishment simply because of the fact that I use the word beauty. So yes, I am one of those who believes that beauty is an objective reality, not merely a subjective reality. It is true that there is a degree of subjectivity. One person likes one thing and one person likes another. That there is a degree. But what is amazing is not how much of a degree of difference there is. What is amazing throughout the millennia is how human beings, by and large, consider the same things to be beautiful. Now, I won't go down the philosophical how we got here, modern art, enlightenment lecture right now. Let's just stick with where I'm at. 3 things conspire. 3 things come together to make a painting beautiful. I'm assuming some of you listening are painters, and this is where I want you to listen up. 3 things, and these 3 things are against each other. They don't work together. They pull apart like a magnet. Like you played with a magnet when you were a kid, and you put the 2 norths together, and they resist each other. The 3 impulses, the 3 elements that make a painting beautiful resist each other. They don't go together. That's why it's such a tricky business trying to be a good artist, because you're trying to push these things together that don't want to go together. The 3 elements are, number 1, I'll do simple order. Number 1, the painting, and I'm just going to, the same applies to drawing, but let's just talk painting for now. The painting looks like the thing. As I usually use when I'm talking about realism, if the painter paints a cow, human beings get a kick on Route 66. No, wait. The viewers get a little drop of joy juice gets released in their brain whenever a human being, now I must insert a normal human being, not one who has been brainwashed by having earned a Master of Fine Arts degree. Those human beings are completely on a different planet, and I disagree with most of what they were taught in their master's degree vociferously, and I would assert with some degree of understanding. I'm not a novice to the battles of philosophy and history. All right, so 3 things make a painting beautiful. Number 1, similitude, realism, accuracy. People get a kick. Like, people are going to get a kick out of seeing, oh, that's not only a car, I can kind of see what kind it is, and it's a van, and those skills, I can see shapes of the body of the car, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. Got it? All right, so number 1, human beings, all except for those who have been ruined by advanced art degrees in our current culture. This is not going to stay this way, by the way. You can fool some of the people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time, and eventually the whole Western civilization is going to wake up and say, the emperor is naked, and they're going to be embarrassed about all the crap that they bought and the crap some of them that produced, because it will not stand the test of time because it's not true. Anyway, yes, and I stand ready to defend that, absolutely. And if you want to argue with me, you better be ready to go into some deep philosophy and history. Don't give me all the crap that you might have learned earning your master's degree. That's precisely what I don't agree with. All right. Boy, he's ornery today. Number one, realism. If it's a cow, people like to say, "Ooh, that looks just like a cow." All right. Number two, not in any particular order. The second thing that human beings like to see on a canvas in a painting that makes them happy, the joy juice gets released in their brain when they see this. Hey, buddy. I've got some loud music up on behind me. Sorry, I'm very distracted. I got a technical issue, and I have very loud noise being pumped right behind me. The second thing that human beings enjoy seeing is human movement. And now this is what the traditional art teacher would call brushstrokes. But that is a very inadequate description of what is the truth. The truth is, the human eye gets a kick out of seeing All right, now let me see if I can get back to having a monitor. Turns out I was recording at the same time that I was forgive me just a minute. I'm going to try really hard to thank you very much. Nope, still I'm not able to bring up the chats for some reason. All right. Just keep talking. I have no idea if anybody's watching or not. Probably somebody is, and I'm sorry that I'm not able to see your chats. All right, so the second thing is, again, traditionally the art professor would call it brush strokes. And he would sort of wax eloquent and yet very vaguely, that of which I speak, about the glories and the beauties and the importance of brushstrokes. Well, the reason it's vague and abstract to the poor art student is because the issue is not brushstrokes. The issue is the history of human movement. So let me use that terminology. Let me go back to the number, not in this order, but the number one thing that people like to see in a painting is a recognizable stuff. If it's supposed to be a cow, it looks like a cow, and if it looks a lot like a cow, people get a kick out of that. Now, of course, that explains why ordinary human beings do get a kick out of realism, super realism, photorealism, realism. People do. Ordinary people do. But it does not explain why a lot of people prefer painting that they run out of language, they don't know what to call it, so the most common label is Impressionism, and I resist very much calling my painting. They are impressionistic, but that fails to explain really what's going on here. Hang on just a minute, I need to think. Okay, I've thought enough. What people really enjoy seeing is not brush strokes per se. What they enjoy seeing is that a human being, of which they are one, has approached this canvas with such and such a brush and such a hand, and yea, this amount of paint on that said brush, and with the paint on the brush in one of his hands or her hands, the artist made a motion, a movement like thus and so. Because when the viewer sees that an animal very much like themselves made a mark, the viewer subconsciously reenacts, without even thinking about it. They reenact. They have a sense of like, oh yes, I could make a mark like that. I see that artist did this, that, thus and so. So this is very abstract now. This has nothing to do with realism. In fact, it is absolutely opposed to realism, because the more obvious the brushstrokes or the history of human movement is, the more obvious the history, the less realism, and vice versa. The more realism, the less history. All right, but let me get on to the third. I'm bogging down. I've probably lost 90% of my listeners. I'm a terrible YouTuber. Thank you. The third thing that people like to see on a canvas, put there by an artist. And are you guys getting all static? I'm afraid you are. Ooh. Hello? You know what? I'm going to end this broadcast because I think the sound is terrible. So sorry. Bye-bye.